Okay, just fine tuning the decks. The one at the other end is virtually perfect, maybe just a bit of sanding. So what I'm having to do is push it up to the front and then gradually lower the back. And what you're looking for is for that to go in nicely, but without forcing the gunnels apart. So we can see are still pretty tight. So we need some off there and off here. Obviously, the added complication is that these inner gunnels aren't perfectly upright. They're splayed in, so you're also having to put an angle on it as well. And because it's curved and my plane isn't, you can't just shoot the plane down. So I'm holding it at an angle, or you can use a spoke shave. So yet another Saturday is here. So Saturday morning about 10:30, and I have got to go and MOT my car in a little while. So I'm going to have a bit of a short day today. And then tonight we've also I'm out with a quiz team tonight as well. Just trying to add my penny's worth of absolutely hopeless information. I do tend to know a lot of things about a very small range of subjects. But often it seems I know a few things about a wide range of subjects as well. So I guess we need both in the quiz team. You don't often get many questions on canoe building, unfortunately. Which is a shame, because that is rapidly turning out to be my specialist subject at the moment. The amount of research I've been doing on the internet is insane. So I've popped the string here from the sides of the stem, front and back, so that I can just try and make sure these are somewhere approaching the middle. And also got a tape measure as well, so when we get to 8 inches there, looks like we're a bit off. It's got to come this way a bit at this end. Obviously, if you are very brave and you have lots of wood, which you might need, you could always do an exact template, mark it out, and then just whiz these off on the bandsaw. But I'm missing a few of those things. I haven't got tons of wood. And in my experience, bravery is very close to stupidity, so we need to be a bit careful. Yes, so very shortly I'm going to be diving indoors, and as it's Saturday, I'll be having my usual 3-egg omelette with feta cheese and some lovely organic tomatoes, which I need to have that before I go to MOT the car, as I'm getting bloody hungry. Now, that made a difference. Yes, you can see as we're getting closer and closer, I'm putting the pencil marks on here so I can actually see where I'm shaving off from, because I am doing it holding the plane at a fair angle. I need to be sure where I'm taking it off, especially with a cedar, because that plane's so easy. Before you know where you are, you're taking off a shed load. They are beginning to look grand. You get some oil on them, they're going to sparkle. Hello, busy. Done a bit of finishing off on the canoe, sanding, and the front and rear decks are ready to go basically. So I'm now having to sand all this out and tidy it all up. I've been clinching nails at the front here, and I'm going to be working my way back. If you have just happened to cross my channel, you may think that this is just some old boy who's out cycling, paddling on the river, making canoes, generally talking a lot, mostly a load of squit. But no, it's much more than that, because occasionally I do give off some good advice on things to do and not to do. There's some cooking tips, some health tips, and I've now got another gem for you. So if I'm sorry ladies, but this is more aimed at men, and it is going to be quite sexist, I'm sure, so forgive me for this. But if you're a man, particularly living on your own, or maybe you're allowed to use a washing machine once in a while, even if you've had a certain pair of shorts for about 4 or 5 years, as I have, and they've been washed countless times, just don't think that you can just chuck a pair of red shorts in a mixed coloured wash, because, because unless you want to be wearing pink t-shirts. So yeah, classic mistake. Oh dear, you have to laugh. Yes, I'm on the very tedious task of making sure all the nails are clinched. Just quite a job. So basically the nails have come all the way through, and when they hit the hammer it bends the ends over and drives them back into the wood, and that sort of locks them in position, for anybody who doesn't know. So basically that means I've got to just go along, check for any what aren't flush with the ribs, and then I'm hitting those home effectively. And yeah, I've just got to work my way along, but obviously as you get nearer the middle it's very hard to hold the hammer and reach underneath and see what you're doing. But there we are, I'm sure I'll manage. In the meantime, the heavens have opened. I was just outside happily sanding my decks with my big floor sander there, and I just got about 2 minutes in and it started to rain, so but there we are. Good news is I saw it coming and got the washing in, so that was a bonus. Otherwise that would be very bad news. Anyway, I'm under the tarp, so we're all good here, so I'll just keep on keeping on. I haven't got a bandsaw, so I've done the next best thing, and I can now sand this off. It's actually quite light, especially bearing in mind there's ash and American black walnut there, which are both quite heavy woods. So I'm going to thin some more down this end, just give that a plane, and I'll see how it fits. So now it slips in there and sits there quite nicely, just nice and snug. Just push it down at that end, so I'm going to take a bit more off there. So there we have it, the crowning glory. I'm not going to be fixing this fully. I will, however, probably put 4 screws in and just clamp it up, with screws. But I'll then always be able to take it out, and I'm not going to glue this anyway. It's fitted dry, so that if you ever had to do any repairs to the canoe, then you can unscrew these bits. That's the whole idea. So although I have used the odd dab of glue in a couple of places, 98% of this canoe has no glue on it at all, and that's really how it should be, because if I ever had to take anything off, if everything's glued, it would be a nightmare. Yeah, and then some. A lot of people make these in America, and a lot of people repair them in America. There's a handful of people in the UK, possibly more than you know of, but I have spent quite a long time searching. Information is a bit thin on the ground, and what I've found is virtually everything you look at, Canoe Builder's Guide, and everything is America. Everything. So all the products they recommend, everything they recommend is all American, and a lot of stuff you can't get it here. But like I said, there's 1 or 2 people have built them here, and the ones I've found have been, their accounts have been very useful. So and I'm hoping mine will be useful for people in the future, and I'll try and I will add more and more stuff as I go along. But yeah, it has been quite tough at times, and you're almost a little in the unknown really, because if you use a product that you're not sure of or has not been tested well, that could let you down. So all these things have to be borne in mind. So yeah, there we are. I will add all the stuff I use, I will add, and then as time goes on, I can then share my experiences in this canoe, and if any, if I feel that something I used wasn't really the right thing, or it's not worked properly, or I've had an issue with it, then I can obviously let people know. From that point of view, I will be using it a fair bit. Well, that's the plan anyway. When I use the canoe, I do tend to use it, so I'm not just doing a couple of miles down the river. I am out for 2 or 3 days sometimes, so it'll be a good test for it. So if anything is going to go wrong, then I think it would show up. So yeah, so that'll be a good test bed anyway. Right, I've got some brass screws here, 1.5 inches. They are slotted head, probably isn't ideal, but they're the screws that I bought for this project. So I'll give them a go. I can always change them. So what I'm going to do is, obviously I'm going to pre-drill a hole, and I'm making sure I'll set that depth and flush. Make sure it's all the way up to the front. Now, so we have to be pretty careful with our hole because the deck is quite thin. So now, the problem I've now got, as you can see, I'm hitting this before the screws set all the way in. So what I'm now going to do is set this length to allow for that. So when that goes right in, that's the correct depth. Like so. Let's do the other side while that's in there. Because the ash is so hard, where that slightly thicker piece of the stem goes in, I'm just going to do a slightly bigger hole just there. Be careful doing that, because as that goes in, the tendency is for the wood to grab the bit and drag it in. This is not the final time, because I want to countersink those holes, and at the moment they're not. And the thing with brass screws is they're not tremendously strong. So if you start widening it in and you feel a lot of resistance, you need to do something about it, because otherwise they will ring off as quick as you like. So I'm going to pre-drill this a bit more on that bit of ash. Because if it's going tight, you can guarantee it's not going to be in the seed, is it? It's going to be in the ash. So that's better. Right now, all I really want this to do is to nip up on the seed up. That's looking mighty fine. So yeah, that'll do. Just got the other end now. That is a good tool, but incredibly aggressive. So we have to be bloody careful, because there'll be nothing left. So it's down to Hans' job. So there we have it. Oh dear, as you can appreciate, trying to reach in there and hold a hammerhead and then actually be able to see the nail and hit it underneath is quite a task. And yeah, what I really need is, I've got a friend who's been perfect at doing this. I don't know if you've seen him. He last made an appearance on the bike packing and hammock camping video I did, I think back in the end of March, April. He showed up at the end of part 2 and he'd be brilliant at this job. The only problem is that last time he made an appearance, nobody commented on him and it sort of hurt his feelings a bit. So he's a bit reluctant to come out. But I think if I coax him, he might. And he'd be so good because what is he? He's the hung, no, not hung like a no, cheeky like a no, so arms like an orangutan, I think. Yeah, that's the one. So he'd be spot on. He'd be able to do that easy. See if we can get him. Here you go. I'll leave it there for you. Hello, Sunday afternoon here in Norfolk. Bit more work on the canoe. I've managed to get the decks fitted now, and I've been busy sanding. Well, I've been busy clinching all the nails. I've been sanding out the inside, as you can see, all the dust. Deck at the far end. So this is coming on quite nicely now. And the next thing, I'll put a bit of filler in a couple of places where I had knots, and I'm now gonna put her upside down and start doing some sanding down on the outer hull. Right, well, that's nearly it for today, folks. On Sunday, I've been sort of fussing over this quite a bit. I've been trimming off all the last little bits. I've done obviously filler, as I said. I've given it a very quick sand just to get an idea of what's happening. I've been out with my plane and I've been trimming off any sort of big ledges all over the whole hull. Just sort of feeling it really, seeing what it feels like. It's feeling pretty good actually. So obviously it's going to need a damn good sand, because you know, even if a canvas is quite thick, you know, if there's any major flaws, it's going to show through the canvas, so we've got to be a bit fussy. I think most of the nails are set. I mean, it's a hell of a job. I've been going over these ribs for quite a while. It's bloody hard work, but yeah, I think they're all set. So I'm now down to I'm now going to cover this canoe in boiling water, which then should make the wood swell up. So where you've got all these hammer marks, the wood should swell up, and that may mean tomorrow I can, you know, get sanding with a vengeance. And I've also took some time out of the day to have a tidy up, because I was traipsing over so much crap on the floor, so now it's all pretty clean, so that's good. And this part of the operation is nearly done. It is nearly done. So couple of days with this, and then all being well, canvas next weekend. It's still the plan, so we'll see how that works out. Right, I have this did boil, but I made myself a coffee and I've put a bit of cold water in, so this is hot but not boiling. Looks like I'm a cup of coffee short. Damn. I'm sure you get the idea. I've got one more kettle boiling at the moment, which I'll finish this side. today. I've been out for about 2.5 hours using the sander, and it's pretty antisocial, so it's nearly 8 o'clock, so I'll knock it on the head now. But it is coming down quite nicely, particularly around the bilge area where the biggest curve is. It was very much Friendly bit territory when I started, and some of the other planks, but I've got them down to, you know, they're pretty reasonable now, and I think a couple of hours or so tomorrow with my flat sander, it's going to be getting somewhere pretty close. I'm still keeping a careful eye on any nails that I think might be a bit suspect, and I'm re-clinching some of those as we go. And I'll put a bit of filler in a few places where there was a bit of a gap in the joints, and there was one or two knots in the wood, but what I did is I positioned the knots over a rib, just so, you know, I didn't waste the wood really, and I've, you know, just put some filler in those. So that's that. The other developments now is I've found some canvas, which I actually ordered it last night. Some canvas, so as I get nearer the end of the sort of set of videos, I will put a list of what I used, and, you know, within a reason, the money I've spent so far, or, you know, in total, if I do it near the end. But I found some canvas, and that should be on its way to me now. I'll have to pay extra for sort of expedient delivery, but I'd rather have it here because I'm hoping to canvas it on Saturday. I've had a lot of deliberation about what to treat this with. So once I finish sanding it tomorrow and giving it a good clean down, this outside needs to be oiled before the canvas goes on, and I was going to use Osmo oil, but I've decided I'm going to just go with tradition. So the book I'm following, which is Rollins' book, I mean, those guys have been building these for probably longer than I've been alive, so, you know, you have to take heed of the things that they say. Even though I felt that obviously the book is quite old, so, you know, things have moved on a pace, but as people have pointed out, they are still actually making them. So, you know, yeah, so I've decided that I'm going to use boiled linseed oil, which is what they recommend, and I'm going to mix it with 20% clear preservative as well, some Cuprinol. So I've got the Cuprinol, the boiled linseed oil is on its way. I was able to find it on Amazon at a fairly reasonable price, and on the outside, once I've done the canvas, I'm going to use a Zinza watertight, which is a water-based, waterproof substance, which the other guy I spoke to who builds these near Peterborough, he's used it, and I think several other people have used it in the UK. I don't think anyone in America uses it, but because they use, you know, they can order other stuff, you know, but in the UK, you know, things are changing all the time, aren't they? You know, I mean, I don't do a lot of painting, but I do get involved in painting on some of my bigger jobs, and my, you know, customers who have me year in, year out, you know, and the quality of the paint has gone downhill. It doesn't last very long. It's all now sort of water based, and all the products in Europe are changing, you know, and some of the things they still use in America, I mean, you'd never get them in this country. This wouldn't be allowed. But I've also found quite a lot of YouTube videos of guys in America who are repairing canvas with canoes, or wooden canvas canoes if you like. And to my mind, if you look at why they failed, and, you know, why these guys are repairing them, obviously that's a, you know, good indication as to what you should do when you're building one. So I found those quite useful, so I'll probably put 1 or 2 links in for those as well in due course. I shall be glad when the sawing, nailing and sanding is finished. I really will. I'm probably not the only one as well. So yeah, and I think the canvas is going to be a bit of an art, I'm sure, but at least it's going to be a quiet job, a clean job, and then after that, I mean, we're really down to you know, painting and filling and stuff, so it'll be, I'm sure that some of the nasty work is behind me. And my arms are feeling it because I've been on my day job. I've been swinging a pickaxe and a sledgehammer for a large part of the day, and then spending the best part of 3 hours with the sander. My arms and shoulders are beginning to feel it, so so I'm going to go in and have some tea. So catch you later. Right, hello again. This is our quick Tuesday evening update. I've given it another sand for what seems like an eternity, and then I've been along with my hand sander, and I've finished it off with that. And I've just got it elevated up here now so I can look. I mean it is pretty good, really. You have to take it for what it is. You know, it's a little thin cedar planks nailed to some ribs. So, you know, it's, but I think it's pretty decent actually. So what I'm going to do tomorrow night, I'm going to knock on head now because I have been sick of sanding. So I'm going to give it one more quick rub down tomorrow. I've been doing it with 60 grit, so I'm going to do something with about 120. Just give it one final smooth, going to hoover it off. And all my stuff has arrived today. My linseed oil's here, my Cuprinol is here, my canvas is here. Loads of stuff has arrived today, so that's very exciting. So yeah, so tomorrow night I'm gonna put the linseed oil on and give it a blooming good soak with that, and that'll make it shine a bit. Because you know, when you're looking at it, it's hard to see. I mean, where the widest part is, obviously that curves either side, but I mean that's to be expected. So yeah, I think we're going to go with that. Sanded him all, not many wood left. Well, this is marking quite an occasion. I've sanded and sanded and sanded, and I think that's going to have to do. So, because yeah, so I have a pot of, let's have a look. This is supposed to be the best stuff, so that is double boiled linseed oil, courtesy Mr. Amazon. And there I have some Cuprinol wood preserver clear. I've mixed about 20% of that in, which is what they recommend. And in my little witch's cauldron here, but you can see that's boiling away quite nicely. Now, I've just weighed the canoe as it is. Bearing in mind it's reasonably complete. Obviously it hasn't got the canvas or hasn't got the centre thwart or the seat, but it's got the decks and most of the structure. As it is, it's weighing 19 kilograms, or just a sniff under. So obviously once I put this oil on, that's going to increase the weight. The canvas will increase the weight. The Zinza watertight will certainly increase the weight, and then there's a yoke which isn't going to weigh much, and the seat won't be a lot. So I still think if this my cedar strip canoe weighs about 28, well that did. I haven't weighed it since I've done the epoxy again, but that did weigh about 28. So if I can keep this under 28, I'll be pretty happy, really. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Right, I'm going to stand a pot there. We're now going to see a miraculous colour change. And they do say to brush this on quite liberally until it stops soaking in, basically. And then if there's anything left puddled in the morning, I'll wipe it off with a piece of rag. Obviously this has to soak in, which will then protect this this wood. More from the inside than the outside, because the zinc is waterproof. They're watertight. Now you may not see it, but I did prepare this area, and I have got a sheet of plastic on the ground because I think there might be the odd drip. But wow, look at the colour. Oh. So I suppose there's half a chance that the inside will look like this when that's done. I might see if I can't find something just to colour the ash. Give the ash a bit of colour. When I was making those decks, I did weigh them actually, and they were just under 400 grams each. So they're not excessively heavy. But you know, obviously everything adds to the total weight, clearly. They have got to be sanded some more, so they will be able to shave a bit more weight off them. I might get them down to 300 perhaps, or somewhere close to it. Obviously I've spared no expense on the paintbrush. Yeah, that's one of my cheap fiberglass and brushes. The emphasis on cheap. These light patches are just where I'll put the filler in. Obviously they don't show up on the inside, they are literally just on the outside. When you're talking about it liberally, that is quite a heavy coat as I understand it. That's what it means to me anyway, so I'm going to go over this in my second coat. Stopped soaking in basically, and that looks like it does now, really wet. What an amazing colour. Absolutely brilliant. Thought my next casserole is going to have an interesting flavour and smell. Hopefully none of my friends are watching this, because they normally come round for a meal, so yes, they may want to give the casserole a miss. They don't say to use this on the inside, although I'm sure there's going to be a reasonable amount that's run through, because there is a few cracks in it. But they're talking about varnish on the inside. I can't say I'm a huge lover of varnish, so I'm still I'm still undecided on that as well. My biggest problem with varnish is when it comes to redo it, you've got to rub the damn stuff down. Whereas with the Osmo oil, you just give it a quick wipe and away you go. So we'll see. But anyway, those decisions have all got to be made. But anyway, I don't know whether I've mentioned this before, but I've got a trip to Norway and Sweden coming up. And I think it's actually lunch tomorrow when I set off. Now, because I've been dedicating an awful lot of time to this canoe, I haven't done a great deal of preparation. I've done a little, but not enough, which leaves me a bit of a problem, because I want to keep putting videos out every week. But clearly for the month I'm not here, it's not going to be easy. Now I will be taking quite a lot of footage in Sweden and Norway, and I think I'm going to take all my gear with me, and if I find somewhere with a suitable Wi-Fi connection, then it should be possible for me to upload some stuff from over there. But in the meantime, I'm going to try and prepare 1 or 2 videos ahead of time, and I will schedule those for while I'm away. One of my subscribers mentioned about me doing a kit video for my Waveney trip, which I have now done, but that's one of the videos I'm going to schedule for while I'm away, so don't worry, that is on its way to you. You know who you are. Probably so does everybody else who's read the comments, but there we are. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to give this a little bit of time. I might consider going indoors and having a shower and maybe sort some tea out, and then come out and see how it's, if any bits have really soaked it up. But I might just add a bit more on. Otherwise I'm going to have to find some kind of container to put this in. Look, I've got bloody loads. I've got 5 litres of boiled linseed oil there, which is absolute tons. I reckon a canoe around this size you could get away with a 1 litre, certainly 2 litres tops, and a small can. I mean, I had that preservative anyway because I'm a builder, so obviously I have stuff like that. But you can get a small 1 litre can of preservative as well, so that's what I'd recommend, because that'll be oodles to do this. I've still got, a fair bit left. But that does look suspiciously like gravy, doesn't it? Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to be fooled. But anyway, what was I saying? Yes, so after this video will go out this coming Friday. On Saturday I'm still planning on putting this in the canvas, so I think what I'll do is I'll do a video obviously for the canvas work, and then when it gets back here I'm going to put the Zinser watertight on, so that'll seal the canvas, and then it will all be sealed. Leave it a few days to harden off. Now I'm going to cheat a bit. I might as well come clean now. I might have to shorten this video a bit, but on my other canoe I built absolutely everything. On this one I have, because I am so short of time and I really want to get this done and out, because by the time I get back it's going to be October. The weather's going to be, the night's going to be drawing in, the weather's going to start to turn, and I really need to have this done out of the way. So I'm time pressure apart from anything else. I have ordered a centre thwart already made and a seat frame already made. They should be quite nice. They're made of ash, so they'll match in with this perfectly well, and that'll certainly get me going. I always like to make everything myself, including paddles to work. Well, I haven't even planned making paddles for this yet. I want to, but I don't know when that's going to happen. So for now I'm going to fit those bits just to get things moving, and then in the future I'll almost certainly make my own, but for now that's how it's going to be. There's probably another 2 videos with this canoe in before I leave, so I'm trying to find enough things to keep the channel going while I'm away. So although I've mentioned it lots of times, I built my own camper van. But yes, I built that van, and that is quite a nice van. Say so myself, obviously my usual modesty, but it is quite nice. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm now going to be working with the van a bit more. I've got to service it, I've got to wash it, I've got MOT it on Saturday. Quite a lot of things are happening, so I'm going to do a few videos on the van I think as well. So I guess anybody who's interested in canoeing and camping is going to be interested in a camper van, so I hope so. I'll probably do about 3 videos on the van. Yeah, one on the outside, one on the inside, and one with all the bits and pieces I've fitted, because I've got quite a lot of kit on it. So yeah, so we'll do that, and I'll spend about a set those to come out whilst I'm away, so that'll help fill the gaps. So anyway, I do tend to waffle once I get going, don't I? But anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it for now, and come out and look at this in about an hour and see what's occurring. Hello, right here, not that one. Well, it's another Thursday night. but the canoe is ready to canvas, so I've done everything I need to do now, and you can see the oil and Cuprinol has really darkened the timber on the outside. Looks actually rather nice, and decks are in, but still to be finally finished, but that's good enough for now. So you can now see there's a centre thwart there, so that's the centre thwart I've chosen, just because obviously I need something. I can't canvas it unless that's held together, so that's only temporarily in. I've got the slotted screws again. I'm not the world's biggest fan of slotted screws, far from it, but on a traditional boat I think they're going to look okay, because I'm going to use them to hold the outer gunnels on as well. So there's got to be countersunken done when the time comes. And that's the seat. So I've gone for a curved one. Unfortunately that has arrived varnished, which I don't really, I'd rather that was unvarnished, to be honest, so I'll probably end up rubbing that off, put it back in its spot, and then yeah, I'll see you guys next week, and when that's probably going to look a lot different.